Starting with the feet together, take the toes out and heels out. Your feet should be around hip width apart. Quickly check down, check both feet are pointing forward. Take the shoulders back. So your centre of the hips, centre of the knees, centre of the ankles should be in alignment. And take the shoulders back. Just circle them back. Try and relax. And allow them to drop down. Fingertips are on the seam of the trousers. Now I'm going to have a look at your forward and back position. So bend the knees slightly to start with, and let's just tilt the pelvis. Keep the bottom relaxed. You're just moving the pelvic area here, forward and back. Think of your pelvis as a bucket of water or a bucket of sand. As you tip forward, the sand's falling out the front. As you tip back, it's falling out over the back. And I want you to come to a central position. And then stand upright. And for those of you who know you stand forward on your hips, I want you to tighten up the knees and pull back slightly so you're in alignment. And watch here that your chest is in line, that you're not lifting the chest. So nice and relaxed. And retract the chin. So again, we want to be here, we don't want the head up in the air. Keep it nice and level, and then just pull back slightly. And from there, we're going to start thinking about our breathing. Breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth. So initially, just change the movement, the breathing from your normal breath to the in through the nose, out through the mouth. Now I want you to concentrate your breath and imagine you're breathing into the back of your ribs, your lower ribs at the back. Breathing in, breathing out. As you breathe in, if you take your hands here, you're going to feel the ribs expand. In through the nose. I want you to make that breath a little bit longer and a little bit stronger. And we're going to try and move with the breath. I did a little bit about breath last week, but I want to talk about breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth while we're exercising again. So when we do an exercise, we breathe out on effort, generally. So the hardest part of the movement is on the out breath. So if you'd like to start the arm floats, I'm going to talk through while you do them. You're breathing out as you lift. You're going to engage the core, pull the belly in without moving the spine. Keep that breath going. So keep going with that movement. As you breathe out, at the end of the breath, your deep transverse abdominis muscle, the deep core muscle, begins to engage. So if you're taking your arm away under load, which obviously we aren't here, this is quite a gentle movement, but if you do, your deep core muscles are already beginning to engage. We also tend to breathe out when you're folding in half so that we don't push all that extra air against our internal organs. Sometimes in yoga, they'll do that on purpose in order to massage the organs, but we want to make sure that we breathe in as we open up, out as we compress the middle of the body and the lungs in a movement. Okay. Breathing out, breathing in. Now look at your posture again, just become aware of it. Where is your pelvis? Take the arms down and reach them above. So here, try and keep the shoulders dropped. This is just a mobility, warming up exercise. Breathing out. Breathing in. Breathing in. Next time, as your arms come down, we're going to change the movement, so keep the arms out to the side. And I'm going to ask you to bring little fingers forward, so I'm twisting the hands, thumbs back. I'm going to take my arms down slightly so you can see what I'm doing. So little fingers forward, arms back, trying to keep the arms shoulder height. And here, You're stretching across the back and stretching across the chest. Try and avoid lifting the chest. And let's make that a little bit bigger. Round the upper body, a little back arch. Round forward. And you can lift the chest here, so we're exaggerating that movement. And release, bringing the arms down. Small side bend. Now what I want you to think here is if you're between two panes of glass, and we're going to lean gently down to the side and back up. So gently down to the side. Keep that head in line. Don't lead with the head, so you're keeping, it's all about the waist stretching down this side and coming back up. You can let the arm just drop away slightly. It's not a reach here. It's just a gentle side bend to warm up. Breathing out as you go down, in as you come back up. One more. And let's take it to a rotational movement. I like to take my feet a little bit wider here. Lift the feet and heels off the ground, let the knees move as well. This isn't particularly controlled movement, just getting some movement through the ankles, through the knees, through the hips now. Bring the feet and knees back in alignment again. Straighten up the hips and make that movement come just from the waist. Smaller movement. And back to centre. Circle the shoulders back. And we're going to go into a Pilates squat. Now with a Pilates squat, you want to think as if you're sitting back in a chair. Think of trying to keep the body upright. You probably will lean forward, but you're not trying to lean forward. You're also trying to let the knees track over the feet. So your knees stay, ideally above the ankles. That isn't going to happen. But they're going to stay above your feet, not go forward of. And you can use the arms for counterbalance, or you can take them on the thighs. And as if you're sitting back in a chair, keep that chin relaxed and sit back. You don't have to go very far. This is fine. If you can go lower, that's fine. And lift. Now I'm going to ask you to stop a moment and look down at your feet. Check that you haven't turned your toes out. Keep them pointing forward. We want to keep these muscles working. Helps our balance. Pull your belly in. Watch you're not sticking your bottom out. And sit back. And lift. And sit. And lift. If it makes it easier to slide the arms forward, then do. It isn't a reach with the arms, though. It's a float with the arms. And really concentrate on not arching the back and trying to keep the upper body aligned above your bottom. And release. We're going to move on now to some balance work. Today's balance exercise also helps a little bit with pelvic stability. So we're really trying here to keep the hips in alignment. We're not allowing them to drop from side to side or kick out to the side. What I want you to do is come up onto your toes. So spread your toes to start with. Watch your feet pointing forward, hip width apart. Come up onto the toes. I'm going to turn so you can see. And you're just going to drop one heel, lift, the other heel, lift, drop, and lift, drop. Now I put my hands onto the top of my hips, onto my pelvis, so that I can feel what's going on, what my core engaged, and I'm lifting. I'm trying to control it down as well as up. On the next lift, I'm going to ask you to hold at the top. Now, it doesn't matter how high those feet are. If your ankles are really wobbling from side to side, then drop the feet a little bit lower until you're maybe only 1/4 of an inch off the floor. It does make that balance a little bit easier. It is going to help strengthen your ankles as well as working the muscles around your hip and the pelvis. Engaging your core will help. Let's move again, taking it down and lift and down and lift and down and lift. And release. I'd like you to roll down to the floor using the Pilates roll down, so 4 or 5 times. If you know what you're doing, just carry on ahead and do it. If not, stand with your feet hip width apart, tuck your chin to your chest, rolling down 1 vertebrae at a time. Just as far as is comfortable, you can use your hands on your thighs for support if you wish, or you can hang down freely. Bend your knees if you wish. Breathing out as you go down. Breathing in as you come back up. And on the last time down, if you'd like to come down to a seated position. I'd like you to roll onto your back. And we're going to do some nice gentle mobility exercises. So if you need to use a block or towel, make sure it's not too thick, maximum 1 inch. And get your position nice and comfortable on the mat. Open up through the shoulder blades, relax the shoulders down, hands by the side of the body. Bring the feet so that they're hip width apart. So if you start with the feet together, toes out, heels out, and you've got a neutral spine, so a little bit of gap underneath the back, the pelvis should be level. I'd like you to check that for me. Back of the hands against the bony protrusions on the top of your hips, and take that down into a diamond shape. And if you quickly look up, you should see that your fingers are level. They're not tipped up, they're not tipped away. And what I'm going to ask you to do when you've got hold of, got your hands in that position is rotate. Push the spine into the floor, take them back the other way, and the fingers will go from one direction to the other as you do that. Now when you're doing this, try and keep the knees stable, knees and feet hip width apart. Coming back so that your hands are level, hands off to the side, and we're going to go with a leg slide. Now when you do this, we want to just move the leg. We want to keep the back as still as possible. Up to you. If you want to, stick your fingertips underneath the lower back so you can feel what's going on as you do this exercise. Breathe in, and as you breathe out, slide that heel away along the surface of the mat. Engage your core and be aware of what's going on with your lower back. Nice gentle movement, but it's a little harder than you might think in that we're trying to keep the other leg still, so you might need to push the opposite heel into the mat. You're really trying to control what's going on as you slide the leg away and bring the leg back. Sliding the leg away and bringing the leg back. So you're doing this with your breath, breathing out as you go away, in as you come back, keeping that core engaged. Now let's take this to a starfish. We're going to add the opposite arm now, keeping the chest still. So you're avoiding lifting the chest. One arm As one leg goes away, the opposite arm floats above the head. This isn't a reach. You're just going to take it as far as is comfortable. Breathing out. Breathing in. Breathing out. Breathing in. Last one. And we're going to change to a single knee drop. When you're doing the single knee drop, I'm going to suggest that you put your fingertips or your forearms against the side of your hips, because we want to ensure that your pelvis stays still. We don't want the whole of the body rocking to the side. You're going to try and keep the opposite knee still. So, holding on as is comfortable. As you breathe out, you're going to allow the knee to drop, coming onto the side of the foot. Go just as far as you can with control. The moment you feel the other leg start to wobble or the pelvis to move, you're going to breathe in and come back up. Breathing out as the leg goes down, you can push the opposite heel into the floor to help stabilize. You're going to engage your core, so pulling the belly button in towards the spine. Breathing out as you go down, in as you come back up. Breathing out as you go down. If it's the first time you've done this workout, then I want you to stay with this movement. Also, if you're feeling any movement in those hips when you're doing it, I want you to stay with this version. Those of you that have been doing the exercises with me for a while, and I say definitely aren't feeling this movement, can come to a more advanced version. So you're going to breathe in. As you breathe out, take the legs up one at a time to tabletop. Knees, the weight of the knees is above the body. Feet, as if you're going to put a tray on them. You've still got that neutral spine. You need to be aware of what's going on with your lower back. Breathe in, and as you breathe out, you're going to drop that leg down to the side. Now again, as you do that, the other leg should be staying still. So you can see by looking up here if there's a movement. When I do it incorrectly, that leg moves with it. So you really need to be in control here. You're going to feel this one in your abdominals as well. Really hold the tummy in tight as you do this workout. If it's too much, breathe in, and as you breathe out, take the legs down one at a time and return to the more basic version. One more each side. Breathing out as the leg goes down, in as the leg comes back up. And you're going to move with your own breath. Okay. Bringing the knees in. A little bit of a rock. Release your back. And as you breathe out, take the legs down one at a time onto the floor. Feet are flat on the floor. Again, hip width apart. Feet together, toes out, heels out. If you're not sure, feet should be pointing forward. So really be aware here when you're doing this that you haven't allowed your toes to drop. We also want the legs to be in alignment. And you're going to breathe in. As you breathe out, I want you to bring your leg up to tabletop. Breathe out as you take it down. Breathe in as you lift. Engage that core. Breathe out as you take it down. So, I'm going to start going through slightly harder versions of this. Whenever you feel you're not in control, come back to the version before. If you've had enough, stop and go back to one of the easier versions. So what I'm going to ask you to do now is engage the core. Breathe out as you lift. Breathe out as you lift. Breathe out as you take it down. Breathe out as you take it down. Now we're trying to stop the belly from popping. We're trying to keep that core, those deep core muscles engaged. Changing leg. Left leg first. Left lift. Right lift. Left lower. Right lower. Right lift. Lift. And left. Right. And left. Now really be aware of what's going on with your lower back here. You're going to take that leg back up. Again, be aware of what's going on with your lower back. You should be controlling that with your core, alternating the start leg, coming up. So finish there. Now, if you're struggling with that one, if you feel your back's arching or your tummy's popping up, that you don't feel in control of what's going on here, go back to the basic version. Those of you that are still finding that relatively easy, bring the legs up one at a time, breathing out to tabletop, and you're going to take them down and lift. Now watch as you do this. I'm not bending my knee. The leg is going away. It stays at 90 degrees. All the movement here is at the hip. So it's at the hip only. And lift. Try and keep the upper body as stable as possible. This is quite an intense movement, so you might need to go back to the easier version. I'm going to do one more there. And release. Hug your knees in. Give them a little bit of a rock. Okay. Those of you with osteoporosis cannot do the next exercise, so I'm going to suggest you just relax and have a little bit of a breath. Those that want to do the next exercise, we're going to do roll like a ball, hugging the knees in tight to the chest. I like to hold underneath and control. And as you come up, you're trying to balance and you're only going back as far as your shoulders. Now, I know a lot of you aren't going to like that exercise and probably won't have done it, but I'd like to put it in to allow those who can. I'm going to carry on with abdominal exercises again. Sit for a moment and watch this one. I'm going to go into single leg stretch. Now, with this exercise, we're only going up to 45 degrees. The foot is pointing at this sort of angle. It's not really down close to the floor. I want you to be really aware of what's going on with your lower back. So breathe out, breathe in to prepare, and as you breathe out, bring the legs up into tabletop. You're going to lift your shoulders and head, keep that neck relaxed. You're going to stretch one leg away, hug the other leg in with the hand on the same side and reach across to the foot. We're going to do this fairly fast. Breathe out. Join me when you're ready. Remember lifting the shoulder and head. Anytime that gets too much, allow the shoulder and head to drop to the floor. Be aware of what's going on with your back here, that it's not arching away from the floor. Putting those abdominals in. If the neck gets too much, drop the head down. And when you've had enough, hug the knees into the chest. For the next exercise, I want you to take your feet up towards the sky. Now, for all of you, be really aware again of what's going on with your lower back here. So, my legs are quite straight. For some of you, you're going to be out there with the back arch, so bring the knees in a little bit closer. And what I want you to do is just reach across to the outside of your feet. It doesn't really matter whether your feet are crossed or your legs are straight. Breathing out. Release, lift, release. Easier version for anyone who's struggling with that. Arms to the side and just do a little side bend and release. So if you're a complete beginner, you may want to stick with this one. The rest of you, reaching across to the side, and you're going to feel this in the obliques in the side of the tummy. Again, if it gets too much, rest your neck down. Hug the knees in. Just take the feet down one at a time. Taking the arms out to the side. Shoulders are down. Lifting the top foot off the ground as you just take the knees across to one side. And rest for a moment. Come back centre. Let's take that over to the other side. And back to centre. Breathing out as you go down. In as you come back up. Out as you go down. In as you come back up. Now from there I'm going to ask you to take your hands above the head. Feet flat on the floor, about hip width apart, and those that can are going to try and roll up. If you can't, just come up under your own steam. Breathing in, prepare, breathe out. As you roll yourself up to sitting, take the feet comfortable distance away from you, feet are hip width apart, arms out in front, relaxed. I'm just going to roll back until you feel it in your tummy. Breathing in, reaching forward. Breathing out, coming back. Breathing in, coming forward. I'm going to change that after the next movement. Breathing in, breathing out. Breathing in, breathing out. So you're reaching behind on the diagonal. Breathing in, coming forward. Breathing out, coming back. Again, if that is too much for you, make the movement smaller. Doesn't matter whether the arm floats out all the way out to the side or whether you bend it as you come past. Following the hand with the eye, leaning back slightly. This is working the abdominals, but you're also likely to feel it in your hip flexors. And rest. From there, I'm going to ask you to roll back down again. Hug your right knee into the chest. Take that leg straight up in the air. Now, some of you again are going to find your legs there. I want the knee to be above the hip. So if you need to bend it, fine. If you can keep it straight, beautiful. Arms out to the side. This foot's flat on the floor. And we're going to do small circles from the hip. You're trying to keep this leg as still as possible. You might want to put the other hand on your thigh so you can feel what's going on. Just change direction. Think of drawing a small circle on the ceiling with your foot. Now be aware it's not the ankle that's moving here, it's coming from the hip even. Change direction. Slow and controlled. And change direction. Bring the knee back into the chest, taking that leg to the floor. Let's change. Breathe in. As you breathe out, bring that knee in. Straighten the leg up again. The weight of that leg is over the body. Bend the knee if you need to. And start drawing a circle. Again, you might want to put the hand on the bent part of the leg, the thigh of the bent leg, so that you can feel that you're keeping it still. So this is challenging your pelvic stability. It's nice and slow. 3 or 4 in one direction, and then change. And change again. Last time the other direction. Hugging the knee into the chest. Taking it down to the floor. Taking the feet to the width of the mat. Again, arms out of the way. You're going to breathe in as you breathe out. Drop the knees down towards the side. Try and keep the shoulders down, but allow the hips to come up. Get a bit of rotation through the lower back, opening up through the hips and the pelvis. Breathing out as you go down. In as you come back up and pause at the top. Breathing out as you go down to the other side. Bringing the feet back in. Bringing both knees in towards the chest. Taking the legs up in the air straight. And once again, I want you to have the feet and knees, the weight of them over the body. And we're going to take it to a small circle. Now my legs go straight. If your legs are there, bring them back in. And we're going to do a double circle. Keep the arms out to the side. Keep the shoulders on the floor. Small movement. 3 or 4 in one direction slowly. And then back the other way. And be really aware of what's going on with your back. Check it feels comfortable. If it doesn't, it probably isn't right. Listen to your body and adjust accordingly. Anyone who wants to make it a little bit further can make the movement bigger. Last time in the other direction. Keep it as small as you need to. You can be circling around a big beach ball or a golf ball, whichever feels right for you. Hugging the knees into the chest. Feet down one at a time. Take the feet and knees together. And let's just do a small stretch. Holding to one side. Taking the head over to the opposite side. Come back centre. Taking the knees to the opposite side, lifting that top foot off the floor. Head to the opposite side. Back centre. So for the next exercise, we're going to have both legs straight. And it's called single leg pull. And it's about pulling the leg towards you. So I'm going to ask you to bring your right leg into the chest to start with. Taking the leg up in the air, as straight as you can get it, and support the leg. Now if your leg's there, not so bad, hold it there, and pull that leg up until you feel the stretch in the back of the leg, but keeping the weight supported in your hands, and point and flex the foot. We're just loosening through the hamstrings before we start the exercise. A little bit of circle of the foot both ways, bend the knee and straighten. Take that foot down. We'll just stretch through the other leg before we start the leg pull exercise. Again, you're supporting the leg. Weight of the leg is over the body. Straighten the leg as best you can. So if it's there, it's fine, but straighten up. Push that heel towards the sky. Point and flex. A little bit of a circle. And the other way. You're going to bend and straighten the knee. So bring the heel down towards your bottom. Okay, holding that leg there, bring the other leg in. Straighten both legs up in the air, as straight as you can get them. But again, the weight's over your body, so if it's slightly bent, that's fine. And you're going to let one leg go away. And pull the other one in. Try and keep the leg towards you as straight as you can. You're lifting the shoulders and head if you can, Obviously, if that hurts your neck, take it down. The lower you take it, the harder it is. Try not to bend the top leg in if you can avoid it. When you've had enough, hug your knees into your chest and rest. Hug the knees in. Give me a small roll. So grabbing your small towel, just putting it to one side for now in readiness, or you can leave it there to go under your head. You're going to come onto our backs, feet hip width apart. And I want you to bring your feet as close to your bottom as is comfortable with your feet flat on the ground. And I'm going to ask you to clench your bottom muscles, your buttocks, and lift up, rolling up one vertebra at a time, as high as is comfortable as you breathe out, and return, breathing in. Rock and release your back. So as you do this, try and relax the backs of your thighs, your hamstrings, and squeeze your bottom as you roll and lift. Just as high as is comfortable, breathing out as you lift, in as you return. And next time, when you get to the top, I'm going to ask you to hold it up at the top as high as it's comfortable. Holding it up high. Now from there, I want you to lift the heel, just your heel of your right foot, off the ground onto your toe, and keep the pelvis as still as possible. Replace the foot, rolling down. Release your back if you need to, breathing out as you lift up as high as you can. Hold and pause, just lifting the heel, keeping on the toe, and you're keeping this as level as possible. And down, down again. So if you found that quite hard, stick with that. Next time when you get to the top, if you're able to, I'm going to ask you to lift the foot about half an inch off the ground without allowing the hips to drop. If your hips drop, keep the toe on the ground and stay with the previous version. Breathing out as you come up. Again, when you get to the top, holding it as stable as possible. Just lifting that foot half an inch off the floor, down, back down. So again, if you're finding that version a little too hard, go back to the easier version. I'm going to take it on another level. If you're finding that was quite hard, stick with that version. You're going to come up to the top, and we're going to take the leg out straight, and you've got to really watch these hips aren't dropping. If they're dropping, please come back to the previous version. And again, lifting up, squeezing the bottom, making sure it is the bottom you're squeezing, not the hamstrings, the backs of the legs. Taking that leg out in line, knees together. Bring the foot back down. Release and relax. Just give it a little bit of a rest. Rock your back. And we're going to change the movement, continuing to work in the bridge position. This time, rather than challenging the hips, we're going to try and open up through the body by taking the arms above the head. So again, those that struggle with that one, you can just stick with a lift and lower. Bring the feet as close as is comfortably possible, feet hip width apart. Watch that you're not letting your knees drop in or out. You're going to breathe in to prepare, breathe out as you lift up. Breathe in, float the arms over the head. Lifting up. Doesn't matter if your hands don't touch, bring the arms all the way down to the floor and then release the bottom. If it's too much, either rest or stay with the version with no arms. Breathing out as you lift. Breathing in, float the arms above the head, lifting the hips as high as is comfortable. Doesn't matter how far back the arms go. Next breath, you're going to bring the arms all the way to the floor. Once the hands touch, take the bottom down. You're going to do 2 more like that. Release the back in between, squeeze the buttocks, lifting up. As you breathe out, breathing in, breathing out, return the hands. Next breath, take the bottom down, rolling down 1 vertebrae at a time. Let's have the last one, rolling up, squeezing the bottom to the top. Next breath, float the arms above the head. Bring the arms all the way back down to the mat, and then release the bottom and gently roll back down. Once again, bring your knees in, give them a circle, opening out through the hips, and back the other way. And we're going to roll onto our side now. I want you to start in a nice straight line. So line your heels, your knees, your hips, and your shoulder. Your towel on top of your arm, under your neck. Now, I want you to be sure here that your hips aren't rolling back or forward, and also that your foot is stretched away, your top foot stretched away so the heels are in alignment, so you're lifting your waist away from the floor. Now, if it's uncomfortable for your arm, bring it back here. Take the weight on the hand in front. Keeping that foot parallel with the floor, so have a quick look down, see what's going on. Bring your head back up. And we're just going to lift and lower. Think about leading with the heel. Now, if you know you're nice and stable, you can take your hand on top of the leg. But just watch that you're not pointing the toes towards the sky. Really lengthen that top leg away, and if you find you're wobbling, bring the hand back down in front to get that balance. Let's change that slightly. Now all of you bring your hand in front. You're going to bring the knee up to touch the elbow if you can. Straighten the leg. And this time I'm going to ask you to turn the foot up and allow it to come back. Straighten the leg. Bring it in. Take it in. Twist up. See a totally different movement. Try and keep the head in alignment. Turn the toe up. So your leg's going to go a lot higher this time as you twist and up and in. If it gets too much, then rest. And when you've had enough, bring that leg across in front. Give it a bit of a stretch. Give it a rub or a slap if you want. Okay. I'm going to bring my arm back in because for me it's more comfortable. Out straight into the side or even slightly in front. Just be aware that your neck is as relaxed as possible, and we're going to work the bottom leg. Want the inner thigh to the ceiling, so you're going to have that foot parallel with the floor again and lift it lower. Now if this position's really uncomfortable, you can take the leg behind and lift and lower here. Try and avoid jackknifing the body. Try and stay nice and upright. So lift and lower. Now, softly pointing the toe, I'm going to ask you to circle that leg forward. 2, 3, 4, and the other way. 2, 3, 4. Back the other way if you can. Again, remember, if this is too much, any time. Rest, you can either join back in or wait for the next exercise. So changing direction again. And rest. Taking that top leg down to join. Now, this is a little bit harder than the last one. So if you're finding that you're really wobbly here, you can bend the bottom leg slightly, but watch that top leg's in alignment. And we're going to do that same circling movement forward. You can use the hand to keep the balance. Watch that you're not opening up through the hip. We're trying to keep those hips stacked on top, changing direction every 3 or 4 circles. If it gets to be too much, bring that leg forward. Just stretch through the hip. Beautiful. Stretch it out. Okay. Watch for a moment. I'm going to come onto my front. I'm going to move the towel out of the way because we're going to turn round shortly. Come into the front. Press the head down. little kicks. So join me when you're ready. Just a double kick back towards the buttocks. And bring the hands under the shoulders, pushing back into child's. If you want to, you can allow the elbows to stretch down towards the mat. Feel that stretch across the shoulders and through the lower back. And grab your towel, and we're going to slip round the other direction to work the opposite leg. So again, towel under the neck to keep the neck in alignment. You're starting off in a nice straight line. Bend the hand down if you need to. So again, watch what's happening on. We don't want to be leaning back. We don't want to be jackknifed. Have a look, line yourself up with something. Keep the head back. Hand in front if you need to. On the top if you're really well balanced. Foot in line, lift and lower. And again, watch your leg is extended away so the hips, knees and ankles are in alignment. Pulling that waist away from the floor. Resting the upper body and the head. If it's not comfortable, adjust your towel accordingly until you are comfortable. And again, foot flat. Watch that you're not opening up from the hip. We've had enough rest, but we're going to take it in. And then turning the foot up so that you now are twisting from the hip. Bring it in. Push the heel to the wall. Up, down, in, and open up through the hip. In. If it gets too much, please rest. You can join back in or wait for the next variation. We're going to make that the last one. Bringing that leg across in front. Give me a little bit of a rest and a stretch. I'm going to start lifting and lowering the bottom leg. So think of the heel, let the foot stay relaxed. It's nothing to do with the foot or the ankle. You're just lifting the whole leg. Knee stays straight. You're feeling that on the inner thigh. If you need to, take that foot behind. So it's this sort of movement. A little bit easier for you to see what I'm doing if I take my leg behind. I'm going to take my leg back in front. Let's take it to a circle forward. Softly pointed foot. Keep the ankle and foot relaxed. And the other way. And reverse. And the other way. And rest. Taking that leg out in front. Bend the bottom knee this time, and we're going to go with those circles forward. Changing every 3 or 4. Back the other way. And I'm going to ask you to stay in this position for a moment. Just relax the leg forward. I'm going to roll onto my front and show you the next exercise. We're going to come out into almost starfish position. You can use your towel to put your head on if you want, or just move it out of the way. Legs the width of the mat. Arms the width of the mat. Lifting opposite arm and leg. Think of pulling away on the diagonal rather than lifting. So it's a reach and then a lift. Try and pull the belly away from the mat. Breathing out as you lift, in as you lower. Release, bringing the hands back under the shoulders, coming up onto all fours, and let's just do a little cat and cow to release through the back. Okay, from here, we're going to come into opposite arm and leg slides. So I'm going to ask you to come back and sit and watch me for a moment with this one. Again, I'm aware of your neck. I want your neck to be relaxed. So I'm going to show you the next 3 different moves we're going to do, and then I'm going to talk you through them. I'm going to do these quite fast. You're going to do them a little slower. We're going to start with an arm float. You need to watch that you're not back here. You're in alignment. We're going to just do an arm float. An arm float. It can be small. You're trying to keep the shoulder girdle as still as possible. When I say to move on, we're going to go to little leg slides. They slide along the mat. It's not a lift. You're trying to keep the pelvis as still as possible. If you find that you're lifting, take your weight forward into your hands. If you need to, take your hands onto a rolled up towel. Okay. Or use your fists. For the final part, we're going to do a hold. So this time we're going to lift the arm and leg up and hold, take it down, other arm and hold. So if you're ready to join me, coming on onto all fours, knees hip width apart, hands hip width apart, make sure your wrists are comfortable, and we're going to go to floats. Breathing out as you lift away, in as you come back. Make sure you're not sat back too far. And if you need to stretch back and relax, circle your wrists, please do. If not, you can go straight on to the slides. But do rest when you need. If your wrists are uncomfortable, sit up, stretch back, circle through the wrists to release. Try to keep that head in line and looking down towards your mat so that your neck is relaxed. Be aware of what's going on with your pelvis here. I'm going a little fast here, you could slow it down, keeping that foot sliding along the floor. Next time, I'm going to ask you to float your right hand up and your left hand down. Nice straight line, and hold. You're still looking down towards the floor, keep your neck relaxed. Try and keep that as stable and the back as flat as possible. Hold as long as you can. Let's bring it back in. Changing sides. If you need to rest in between, please do. We're going to do 2 each side. If you can't hold it as long, you might do 3 or you might do 2 and rest. Hold. Okay. One last one. Let's come back into that cat and cow and stretch back into child's pose. Reaching forward with the fingers. Now I'm going to ask you to take both hands to the right hand side of your mat and just lean into the left side of the body. Back to the centre and change over to the other side. Just giving a lovely stretch through the side of the body. And back centre. We're going to finish our workout today with some stretching. So I'm going to ask you to start by sitting with your legs out straight in front. Now, I want to really be aware of what's going on with your back here. So if your back's arching down, you might want to sit on your towel or block, or give the knees a little bit of a bend in order to sit upright. Take the arms out to the side, and I want you to be feeling that stretch in the back of the hamstrings, back of the thighs. Those of you with looser hamstrings will have straightened legs and might want to fold forward from the waist, keeping the chin retracted, keeping the body upright. The purpose of this is just to get some more flexibility in the back of the hamstrings, back of the thighs. Okay, from there, I'm going to ask you to bring your right knee into your chest and hug it, and sit tall, and slowly move your toes away from you, so working forward and keeping the body in alignment, and again leaning forward to stretch through the left leg, the left hamstring. Trying to keep that chin retracted, head in line, just concentrating on the one leg. And hold. And release. And we're going to switch legs. So it doesn't matter if that leg's slightly bent, as long as you're feeling that stretch. And you're going to try and lean forward. Now some of you are still going to be here. You're going to feel that stretch here. You're just going to try and straighten the leg down. The rest of us will try and ease forward, trying to keep that back in alignment, just resting against the leg. I'm going to turn to face you so you can see. You can stay however you're seated at the moment. Keeping that right leg straight, you're going to bring the left knee in and take the foot over. Try and keep that leg in alignment forward. Try and get the foot on the floor. And you're going to pull on the leg. So I've got my right arm against my left leg, hugging in and pulling to feel the stretch through the hip. Take the hand close behind the body, pull the shoulders slightly back, let the head gently follow, and stretch and rotate. And we're going to take it back the other way. So taking the elbow on the inside, try and keep that leg upright, don't let it flop down, foot stays on the floor, hand either up or on the ankle, other hand close to the bottom, and a gentle rotation. Think of pulling the shoulder back and just letting the head follow. Resisting the knee and the elbow against each other. From there, those that can comfortably, you're going to take the inside of the foot against the thigh and let that knee drop down. If that's uncomfortable, you can do this with a straightened leg out to the side, or you can support your leg slightly just to take the pressure off. We're trying to open out through the inner thigh. And release. Let's change legs. So this time the left leg is straight, right leg comes in. This leg stays forward, foot goes flat on the floor. Left arm hugs right knee. You're pulling that across to feel the stretch through the hip. This hand goes close to your bottom. Sit as upright as you can. Try not to lean back into the arm. Concentrate on getting that stretch through the hip. Pull the shoulder back and let the head gently follow. And we're going to rotate that the opposite way. So taking the elbow on the inside of the knee, make sure that leg doesn't move. You can take the hand down if you want, or keep it up. Sit tall, pull the left shoulder back, and let the head follow. Foot should be flat on the mat. A lovely rotation of the spine. And release. Bringing that foot in close to the side of the other leg. Again, you can have the leg out open If that's uncomfortable, support the leg. Just put the foot where it is comfortable to get a stretch through the inner thigh. Sit tall. And again, those that are able to, soles of the feet together, open out. If that's not comfortable, take the legs wide. Just hold it there for a moment, allowing thighs to stretch out. I'm going to do a tree hug or a hug stretch. That's going to give a lovely stretch at the back. I'm going to turn so you can see a little bit better what I'm doing. I'm taking the hands one on top of the other, pulling them away from the body, and then opening the elbows out. So you're going to keep your hands shoulder height, but that's the sort of position. It's almost like you're hugging a round tree, but you're pulling away and pulling out with the elbows, and you feel a lovely stretch across the back. And then if you drop the head down slightly and look towards your feet, keep a bit of gap under your chin. You're not sticking your chin to your chest. Keep the hands in line with the shoulders and enjoy that stretch. Okay. You can stay facing forward. I'm going to turn again so that you can see. Sit comfortably. That might be cross-legged. That might be straight or slightly bent legs. Hands out to the side. You're going to take the right arm up by the ear. Reach up. Rest down into the other hand. And feel a stretch over. So the stretching through the side of the body. Keeping that hip down. And release. Try and keep that arm straight. We're not bending at the elbow. Other arm comes up by the side of the ear. So as if you're between two panes of glass. Lean down to the other side. And reach over. So it's not reaching forward, it's reaching over. Beautiful. I'm going to turn again so you can see what I'm doing. I'm taking my arms behind me and squeezing my shoulder blades together. I'm trying to get those shoulder blades as close together as possible. Try not to lift the chest. Keep it down. Feel the stretch across the chest. Lovely. That's all for today. I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.